welcome to Looking Up. This is a podcast for Christian women. I'm Kathy Pollard, one of your hosts, and with me is Carla Moore, your other host, and we're excited to have you listening in and joining us for some good conversation. Carla, I'm happy to see your face and glad that you're back in the United States. How was your trip?
Thanks. It was great. It was great. We're glad to be home, though. It got a little dicey there at the end with rockets being launched from different places into Israel. But,
Yikes.
But it seems like for them, it's just a normal way of life. You know, people, we're reading on the news and looking at the TV and it's talking about rockets coming in, but look out the window and people are just, it's business as usual. They're just not, they're tough. They're tough. And they have that Iron Dome system. And anyway, I don't worry too much about it. I know that God's going to take care of us regardless, but we are glad to be home.
It was a good trip. It looked like it with all the pictures.
It was. We made lots of new friends and had people from Canada, from Arkansas, from California, New Hampshire, Oregon, Indiana. So lots of people and had a couple of second timers and it's just so much fun to make relationships and to see Israel through the eyes of people who haven't seen it before. And anyway, it was a really good trip, and we're looking forward to doing it the same in October, except on a cruise ship.
Yeah, and a few more destinations too.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
Couple places we haven't been.
So you actually just got back.
Yeah, yesterday morning, 2:00 in the morning. Actually, we got home at 1, got to bed at 2, and got the jet lag going on. So we've already.
Are you waking up hungry in the middle of the night?
Yeah, hungry, hangry, the same thing.
That's right.
I did the first night. So Friday night, in the middle of the night is when we got home, and we, like I said, got to bed about 2 and managed to sleep till 8, so 6 hours. But then you know how it is the first night back, just trying to putting toothpicks in your eyes, trying to stay awake. And we made a deal and said we have to stay up until at least 9 o'clock. And so at 9 o'clock, we're like, okay, it's 9 o'clock, we can go to bed. And by 9:15, we're out. But then I woke up, I don't know, 1:45, and I think I went back to sleep till about 2:30, and then finally just got up at 3 because
yuck.
Yeah. And one of the things that woke me up at 3 was remembering that I have a lesson to give in Kentucky.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Next weekend.
No, that's next weekend. I knew it was coming up, and it's an interesting study, but I just, how when you wake up in the middle of the night and you go, I can't put anything off anymore. So just got up and was working on that.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. We get to see you again, and it'll be a great workshop. And sounds like there's going to be a lot of people there. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Good. I'm looking forward to it.
So you look like you're in an office.
Yeah. And you look like you're in a different place too.
I am. I'm in my bedroom because there's people in my house. For the first time, I'm recording with people in the house.
Too.
I don't really love that.
No. Yeah. We were just kind of laughing about how self-conscious we are about that.
Exactly. So, I tried to have the blinds open so it'd be something nicer for you to look at, but it messed up the lighting real bad. So you've just got bland blinds to look at.
Bland blinds. Well, I've got all kinds of busy stuff behind me. I'm in John's office, and because he's in the other room, but I'm pretty sure he's laying on the couch asleep. So what is it about? I don't mind for him to listen to it after it's done, but I don't want him to listen to me while we're recording. Yeah, and I also don't like if he's like looking over me while I'm writing something. It makes me so self-conscious.
Same here.
It's one of weird idiosyncrasy about me, I guess.
No, I'm the exact same way. Yeah.
Well, we are very similar in a lot of ways, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
So what did you were traveling last week too?
Yeah, we were in Oklahoma. We were in Elk City, Oklahoma for a week. And we stayed with this couple, Brad and Glenda Winery. And you know them. They mentioned going to Israel with you guys twice.
Yeah.
And they're just the salt of the earth and so great. And she is a rancher, and they have 90 acres. She said it's just enough for her to play on.
Yeah.
But it was fun because her cows are calving. So they had a baby born the night before we got there, the night we got there, and then like the night after we left. So she drove us around in her farm truck and was showing us the little sweet little cow babies. And it was so sweet and so fun. So
maybe you could just sneak one of those home with you, and that can be your new cow baby.
Yeah. She has Black Angus and Charolais, which I'd never even heard of before. I had to look it up, but they're really beautiful and they have a beautiful place. And so it was fun.
They do. They're the sweetest. I love watching them together. You can just see, I like to walk behind them when we've been with them in different places, and they just laugh and talk. And it's always encouraging to me to be around them, not just because individually they're fun people, but as a couple, they've been, I imagine they've been married for 50 years, and you can just tell that they're still so in love, and they're sweet. And she's such an elegant, beautiful woman, but yet she can get out there and she probably can pull a calf with the best of them.
They laugh together. They make each other smile.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes you can see that she'll say, "Oh, Brad," and you can tell she's reining him in sometimes, and he'd be the first to admit that he needs that.
Yeah.
So, did you have guests for Easter? Today is Easter Sunday.
We sure did. We had my sister and her husband and their son David, my nephew, was with us, and Gary and Chelsea were able to come over. And Carl and Emily and Dale and Janelle have their in-laws. So Janelle's mom is with them, and Emily's mom is with them, so they couldn't come. And then my mom and Ray just moved to town.
Yeah,
it's official. So they're staying with us until they close on their house. So they're here also.
And where the house is not super close though, right? It's
an hour or so. Not quite. One they were looking at one that was there, but that fell through. So they ended up getting one in Glasgow, which is probably about 35 to 40 minutes from here.
Okay. Good. So, well, I'm happy for them.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we had lunch with Olivia and her chauffeurs, her parents, Micah and Courtney, and her other grandparents, Frank and Lori, and some of their friends. So it was a good always glad to see them. It was. Yeah. Yep.
So you just got home, so you probably haven't had any time to do any thrifting.
No. And I didn't do any thrifting in Israel either, but John did on the way home from the grocery store yesterday. I said, would you mind if I just run in and just kind of hit the high points? And, anytime, just give me a few minutes. And he was sweet enough to say yes. But of course, he really did like that ottoman that I came home with, week before last. And that was like 5 minutes, just a 5-minute trip inside. So it's hard for me to pass by when I think, what's in there that I need? But I didn't find anything. And I did not allow myself to buy something just to be able to have something to talk about on the podcast. So no thrifting. But didn't you say you went to a thrift store?
I did the thrifting.
Nice.
When we were in Elk City, Shayla Clayball, whom you know, she told me about this little thrift store that set up it's called the Ladybug. How cute is that? Yeah. But it's set up like a little boutique, and they diffuse essential oils and things. And I found the cutest little pairs of dress shoes for Rich, and they're leather loafers. They're adorable. So I got a brown pair and a navy blue pair, and then a couple little outfits. But
baby clothes are so much fun.
Yes, I had fun shopping for him, and small enough to fit in the suitcase. Didn't go crazy. So I did the thrifting for you.
Oh, thank you.
Did you do any homesteading for me?
No, in fact, I killed plants. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That reminds me.
What?
That reminds me. So my moonflower.
Is it dead?
Yes.
Oh, what happened?
Well, I was gone a week.
Yeah.
And it's just a little baby. And when I got back, the whole thing was just like,
that poor little baby.
Well, I'm seeing, and we'll see if I can resurrect it. So I've pulled off all the leaves and I've watered it, and there's a little bit of a stem, and that's it. So I can't even tell if there's any life to it or not, but I'm going to try. But I felt horrible. I was right there in the kitchen window. And that was the first thing to greet me when I walked in that door. Oh, no.
You left me.
Oh, no.
Well, I had bought some herbs. I had bought rosemary, cilantro, dill, sage, and thyme. And, you can get them for cheap. I didn't spend too much, but it was really dumb of me because I bought them right before we left, and I just wasn't thinking about it. I saw them at HEB and bought them, and then I thought, oh, well, Kyle, my nephew that stays here when we're gone, he'll keep them alive. But we ended up taking all the houseplants outside well, I say all, we have like 3. We took them outside to get some rain because we thought it'll rain and the sunshine will be good for them. But we got like 3.5 inches while we were gone, and a couple of pretty torrential rainstorms, I think, because when we came home, there were branches on the back deck. So the dill is still alive, but the others are dead. And I can't think of, I know you know what I'm talking about. The mother-in-law tongue is a plant. You know what I'm talking about? It's called mother-in-law tongue.
Why is it called that?
It's
sharp?
It's sharp. Yeah, now that's going to be something that I'm going to have to share in the group next week. But it's just I was so proud of myself because I kept it alive for, I don't know, 3 years, which is a record for me. I'd say no. I kept it alive. Yeah. Well, it's still alive, but it's like it's one of those plants that grows straight up and it's real tall, but kind of, at least mine is narrow. But they're all like spread out now. So I don't know what I'm going to do. It's like, yeah, I just don't have a green thumb, but I'm thinking maybe if I tie it, to where, I don't know. John's got a better green thumb than I do, so maybe he can resurrect them. But they're outside right now, draining. I think they just got way too much water. They were like, what happened? You never watered us before, and now we got too much. So that's what I did. No. You thrifted for me, and I killed plants for you.
We're a good team.
Yeah, maybe not this week.
We are good for each other, Carla.
We are. Should we mention how we've had to start this over twice?
Yeah, this is our third take.
Yeah. Take 3.
And we really haven't had to do that at all since our very first episode.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we took a little bit too much.
I'd blame it on you since you're jet lagged, but I'm the one that said my own name wrong when I tried to do the intro.
For all of you listening, she introduced herself as Kathy Moore. I said, well, I'm Carla Pollard.
No, I was like, no, I'm not.
Yeah. We're kind of flying by the seat of our pants because it's Sunday and, Monday is our podcast day. And we just, because you were traveling and I was traveling, but we just really would like to not replay something. We were trying to go ahead and have something new.
Fresh content.
Yes.
It might not be remarkable, but it'll be fresh. That's our new motto.
That's our new tag. We might not be remarkable, but we're going to be fresh.
We'll be fresh.
I'm not feeling very fresh right now. And I think you were talking about not feeling real fresh in your polyester either, huh?
No. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Well,
that was in the private conversation we had before I hit record, Carla.
Yeah. Sorry, you can just scratch that. You're the editor. You can cut that out.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to have time. I'm going to have this much time to edit tonight before it goes live.
Okay. Yeah. Well, flying by the seat of our pants.
Speaking of, we do have a topic this time to talk about.
We do.
So maybe we should get on with it.
Okay. You telling me to get on with it?
Well.
Yeah. Yeah. Time is ticking.
That's right.
So this is something that I had thought about a couple of weeks ago before we recorded while I was in Israel. And it was the topic is comfort zones, because even this podcast is way out of my comfort zone. This is something that you pushed me into, and I'm thankful for it. I am. I mean, it's been a lot of fun and I'm enjoying it. But I think maybe 10 years ago, I would have just said, no, I can't do anything like that. And I'm not comfortable with that. But comfort zones and just getting out of our comfort zone and making ourselves do things that we don't think we can do, or don't think we'd be any good at, or we just don't really want to do. And I think it's just so important to talk about it and to encourage everyone to trust God and to do things that you should do, because God blesses us in so many ways that we just can't see until we've done it a few times. And we look back and think, wow, what if I had not done that? So one of the first times that I started thinking about this was we had gone to Singapore and Malaysia in 2018. John has been there several times. Have you ever been there to Singapore?
Yeah.
Well, he had been, I don't remember how many years ago he had gone, and he loved it so much. He just loved the people, and he kept talking about how wonderful it was, and he wanted me to go. And I was really pretty much of a homebody until 2015, I guess, our first trip to Israel. And I just was afraid. I let fear control me because I kept thinking of all the things that might happen, or, a flight to Singapore is like 16 hours, 15 or 16 hours. And the thought of being in an airplane for that long, I kept telling him, well, if you can find me a way to get there where we can maybe like fly to New York, and then we can fly from New York to the far, the southwest, the east coast of I always have to do in my mind, north, southwest, east, the eastern coastline of Europe somewhere, and then take another flight, just do it in short segments. But I just remember being there, and once I said, okay, I'll do this because I know that God will bless me in ways that I probably can't even understand. And so we went. And the thought that I had one day while we were there in Malaysia, I was there to do a ladies' day, and he was speaking at a young adult day, and someone had already come to pick him up to take him where he was speaking. And I was sitting in this hotel room in Malaysia on the other side of the world, waiting for someone that I did not know to come pick me up, to take me to speak, which is not in my comfort zone anyway. And I just remember looking around that hotel room and thinking, how did I get here? What am I doing here?
What just happened?
And it wasn't even in a negative sense at all. It was just like, wow, the things that God will do when you don't get in his way. And it was on that very same trip that I came across a passage in Proverbs 29:25 that says, the fear of man brings a snare, but he who trusts in the Lord will be exalted. It was just that same trip that I just ran across this verse, and I started digging into it and thinking about how fear really is a trap, when we're afraid to do something, or afraid to not do something, or just fear overall, for me, is a big thing. And I can think of all kinds of things that might happen. And I don't think of myself as a worrier necessarily, but I'm afraid of a lot of things. But when I kept digging into this verse, he who trusts in the Lord will be exalted. And that word exalted is to be lifted high. And when I started really thinking about that, how fear is a snare and it holds us still, it reaches out and grabs us and holds us. But if you trust in God, he will lift you high over that trap.
That's good.
And so anyway, comfort zones, just thinking about how when we allow God to work in us and do things that we are scared of doing, despite our fear, knowing that he can work good things, that helps to untie our hands and our feet and let us do things that he wants us to do. Have you been in situations like that?
Yeah, I was trying to think back to, in relation to comfort zone and stepping out of that comfort zone and examples of it. And I think that they usually involve opportunities, open door opportunities that God has given us. And we're praying for those. We're praying for opportunities to serve. We pray, use me in your kingdom, or use me in your service. And then when he opens that door, we're like, oh,
yeah, wait a minute.
You must have confused me with somebody else, because that's not my bailiwick.
Yeah.
But isn't that the truth, though? Is here's an opportunity to do something for somebody, or help somebody out, or teach somebody the gospel. Think about evangelism and those open doors that we're praying for to share the word with people. And then when it comes around, I'm completely uncomfortable with this situation, and I'm just going to back off and let somebody else take care of it. And I'm always encouraged by women who, they'll get up in a ladies setting and they'll read a scripture or they'll say a prayer. And if you say something to them afterwards, that was such a beautiful prayer. I'm always amazed when somebody says, that's the first time I've ever done that, and I was scared to death. Or this was, the first time that I've ever served in this way, or I've never organized a ladies' day, whatever it is. And they'll say, I've never done that before, and I was scared. And you're looking at them going, really? Because I couldn't tell. I just saw you laboring and doing such a great job and encouraging the rest of us. And I think that's the reminder that I need for myself, is nobody else can see my fear and awkwardness or the inner critic that's working on my heart and saying, this really isn't your thing.
Yeah.
They just see God at work. They just
Right.
see the efforts that we're trying to make. And that's what I need to remind myself of and the comfort thing is so selfish when you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
when you get down to it. And I just don't really feel like that's something that I would enjoy or that I'd be really good at, or, it makes me nervous. It makes me fearful. And we're putting all that focus on ourselves
Mm-hmm.
instead of the opportunity to serve or be God's hands in whatever
Yeah.
that situation is.
Yeah. Well, the opportunity to go to Singapore, that was 2018. And I'm trying to think about what my comfort zone is, and it's probably just home, being at home, because it's safe at home. And I don't, I'm pretty much of an introvert. It's easy to get on here and talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
because I tend to forget that there's other people that will be listening. But put me in a crowd of people that I don't know, and it's so draining to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to be at home. I'm a homebody, but I have seen in Israel, I guess, is the biggest thing for me because of being a homebody. That was just something that was pretty challenging to me. But 25 years ago, John had the opportunity to go to Israel. He was a teacher at the Southwest School of Bible Studies at the time, and someone provided the funds for him to be able to go and study for about a month at the Jerusalem University College. So this was 1998. And I can't remember if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but Jordan would have been 9, Jake was 7, and Micah was 3 months old. And the thought of John being gone for a month with 3 little boys, it was not something that was super easy to think about, but comfort zone, not in my comfort zone. But how could I not let him go? Not that I let him or not let him, but how could I stand in his way of something like that? But looking back on that, that's opened so many doors. And I don't mean that in the sense of look what John has been able to do, but it has opened doors for him to because it's such a passion of his, the archaeology and learning about Israel and being able to share the proof of as he has said before and got from someone else. I'm not sure who said it originally, but if you can read it in the book, you can dig it in the dirt, which just goes on to be able to prove the truth of the Bible. And so as far as doors opening, so 2015 came along and the idea of doing these videos, Bible Land Passages, and I wanted to go with him. And it was scary to me. This is probably odd for you because I know how much, you're a traveler and you do things like that and you have been doing it for a long time. But for me, it was just not in my comfort zone at all. But I wanted so much to go and be part of it and be with him while he was doing that. And just being able to look back on what a blessing that was. And when I just refused to let my fear keep me at home, that's kind of when I started learning. And, I'm embarrassed to say that was 2015. That was only 8 years ago. So I spent a long time in my comfort zone before I realized, okay, this is something that I can do. And I'm not going to be afraid enough to just stay home and not be involved in these good things. So that was kind of my first, maybe not my first, because I know there have been other things, but I just really want to encourage women to, when your first instinct is to say, no, I can't do that, to think to yourself, I can do that. I can do that. I should do that. And to trust in God that when he says that he will bless you, when we do his will, he really will. And in ways that you can't even, what is Ephesians 3:20-21, that he can do, God can do above so many things that we can ask or think. Yeah. So it really is true.
And we can encourage. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
We can encourage each other as women too, and to step out of our comfort zones. And because sometimes that's all it takes. You might say no, and then somebody gives you that little extra nudge. Oh, come on. You can do this. I have confidence in you. I have faith in you. I think you'd be really good at this. At least try it, And then you go, oh, okay. Sometimes that's all we need is that little nudge. And maybe as we think about others too, and we ask them to jump on board with us on a venture or something that we want to try out, and they might say no right off the bat, but maybe they just need a little nudge and, a little encouragement. Maybe they just don't realize that they need a little more verbal encouragement and a little push, a gentle push, to try something new and see what happens. And we can encourage each other in that way.
Well, and doing it together too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think it's so much easier to do something that makes us feel uncomfortable when we know that we're not doing it by ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a letter that I asked her permission before I would read it publicly, but I had written a blog post. This would have been the summer of 2017 when we stayed neutral for the summer. Mm-hmm. And I was nervous about it because this was 2017 and Jackson had just been born, and he was born in 2016. Whatever year it was, I can't remember. I'm jet lagged. Did I mention that already?
That's okay.
But anyway, I had written a blog post about it and the things that I was afraid of, and how I was just trying to get out of my comfort zone. And I have a friend, her name is Debbie Mitchell, and she's Luke Griffin's mom. I know you've met her before. Mm-hmm. And she went with us to Israel, our very first tour that we guided, which was in 2016. And I must have said something in the blog post. I didn't go back and read it before this, but she responded to it. And I wanted to read some of the things that she said. How some people you just have an instant connection with, and she and I developed a friendship. She's one of those that on the trip we became good friends, and she likes to write and I like to write. And so we've just had a lot to talk about. We meet every PTP. We always have breakfast together. Anyway, this is part of what she said. I won't read the whole thing, but I want to read some of it. She said, "Hi, Carla. I just read your blog and there are so many things I want to tell you that I hardly know where to start. I don't want to presume to say I know exactly how you feel because I'm not you and can't know that. However, I've had a similar experience and I wanted to encourage you by addressing some of your concerns. I married Bill Griffin when I was 20. We had only one child, Luke." And I'll try to skip ahead and read just what's pertinent. But she said in October 2000, Bill died. I was 49 years old. I moved to Dyersburg, Tennessee to be near my sisters. Luke was married and living in Chicago, but eventually moved to Alabama. I didn't really expect to remarry and wasn't concerned about it at all. Then I met Loy Mitchell. I knew his son, and I had met Loy and Donna briefly while I was still in Texas. Donna died in 2002. In early 2004, Loy and I began writing letters. He proposed in May, and though I was expecting it, I wasn't expecting it that soon. I asked if I could think and pray about it before answering, and he said, "Take all the time you need, no pressure." Finally, I'm reaching the point that reminds me of your situation. Loy and Donna were missionaries in southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, for 28 years. Though they had come home in 1997, they visited every year. Loy lived and breathed Zimbabwe. He told me that if we married, I didn't have to go with him, but I knew deep down he really wanted me to go. I knew I couldn't marry him and then sit at home while he worked there. It wouldn't be right. But I was so scared at the mere thought of going to Africa that I didn't think I could survive even a short visit. I mean, a trip to Africa was not even on my bucket list. What if I died there? My kids would be devastated. What if he died there and left me alone in Africa? I thought of every possible catastrophe and just knew that some of them would happen. So I prayed and prayed. Every night, Loy called and charmed and demonstrated such a sweet spirit of love and acceptance. I'd hang up and cry because he was such a good, sweet man and I loved him, but my fear was eating me up. About a week later, after another long prayer, the thought came to me, if I don't marry him, I will always regret it. Africa or no Africa, I want to be with him. A few days later, when we were together, he asked again, and I said yes. And I'm so glad I said yes. We had nearly 11 years together, and they were wonderful, happy years. We went to Zimbabwe 10 times, usually staying a month.
Wow. Oh, wow.
I was never completely comfortable, but I'm so glad I had so many interesting and exciting experiences there with Loy. And this is what I really wanted to share. She said, my faith grew exponentially. I learned so much and had so much more love and life to give to my grandchildren and son and daughter-in-law and my friends because I love this. Because I stepped out of my comfortable boat and didn't drown. After all, Jesus was in Zimbabwe too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is summing it up. My point, it's natural that you would have concerns about living so far away from your parents and kids and grands, but you will have so much more to give them as your faith expands and your work bears fruit. These are things you know. They're just a little deeper than the obvious what ifs that will haunt you if you let them. I'm so glad that you and John had this opportunity to expand your work by living in Israel 2 months. You will be a great encouragement to the church at Nazareth, but you will be amazed at how that congregation will encourage you. What a perfect opportunity to start writing. She goes on to say, so thank God daily for this opportunity and the health and energy to accept it. I know you already do that. Enjoy, grow, delight in the joys, learn from the stumbling blocks, cry when you need to, and then move on, remembering there are lessons in tears too, and keep writing. It's such an encouragement in the love of our Lord, Debbie. It just meant so much.
Good.
Yeah, it was so good. And I've thought so many times since she wrote that about how she stepped out of her comfortable boat and didn't drown, because Jesus is there too. It doesn't matter where you go, he's there. So I know that was kind of a long thing, but going places, I guess, to me has always been out of my comfort zone, but I have stretched out of that. And now, I haven't gone a whole lot of places. You've gone a lot more places than I have, and scarier, I think, than where I go. But I've learned just to not immediately say no, but to think about it and to pray about it and learn to let God use you when you can.
I love how she took the time to write that to you and encourage you. It was a really teaching moment for you.
Yeah.
To share that personal experience and growth that she had seeing you going through something similar. And now you have an opportunity to share it with all of us. And she probably had no idea that was going to happen.
Right.
But she cared enough to do that. I think that's fantastic. And I think that's what God had in mind for women, encouraging women. I love that she did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love her. She's a good friend.
Well, that's so good. And I was thinking about why would we even step out of our comfort zone? And I feel like she just hit all the points, growth, opportunities for ourselves, not just the opportunities to serve others and be God's hands, but growth opportunities for ourselves, new relationships that happen to result from these types of things, and open doors, and just that mind stimulation, doing something different and challenging yourself to do something different is always good. I can see that my lighting in the room is getting really bad here.
Well, it's like you're going dark and getting light. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm facing this side of the house is facing a different. I see the lighting that keeps changing, and so
it's okay. Not everybody watches anyway.
That's true. That's true.
But I just think that when it's empowering to go through something that you previously thought was going to be scary and difficult, and to realize that it's really not that scary and really not that difficult. And even if it is, you still grow and learn, and it gives you the trust and the strength to do the next thing that you're afraid to do. And I've been thankful for those growth opportunities because I've had a few of them, not a lot. I've been pretty sheltered, but I admire people who don't let fear hold them back from doing things, because I've been there, and it's crippling. It really is crippling.
And then we don't feel good about it later anyway.
Yeah.
When we say no, we may feel comfortable in our little comfort zone, but we don't feel good there.
Right.
It doesn't ever feel good there. It doesn't feel good to stay there. So I just think that we can challenge ourselves to step out, I love what you said, grab the hand of a friend and bring them in with you and do something together. And you can experience that together. But even if you don't do that, God has your hand, and he's always with us when we're in his service. But we can think of ideas and see opportunities and bring in other women. And sometimes that in itself is stepping out of the comfort zone for me. I'm much more comfortable with my closer friends, and it can be harder for me to look outside of that and want to, get involved with more people and other people and grow in my relationships with other people. But God always blesses that.
Yeah. But like y'all, when you moved to Bowling Green, that was outside your comfort zone, because it had been a while. You'd been in Denver for a good long while, but when you can look back and see the blessings that God has given you since you've been there. And I think it's a great idea also to make a list, when you get finished or you move beyond doing something that you were afraid to do and you did it, you had the courage, you trusted in God, make a list of ways that you didn't know before you did whatever it was that you did, that God blessed you.
Good
and
idea.
I've done that a couple of times, and names of people. And Singapore is just one of those things that when I look back on it, I loved those people. There's just something so sweet and hospitable, and I still see them on Facebook and keep in touch with them. So to me, I guess most of the blessings that and you've probably noticed this when I say it's always the people that we make relationships with on the trips. That seems like that's how God turns around and blesses me just over abundantly.
Well, we can pray and then take the step, and then pray while we're taking that step, and watch God do all those wonderful things that we never expected.
Yeah.
Well, we got to close out here. I got to start getting ready for worship in a couple of minutes, and I know you do too. So is there anything you want to add as we close out? We don't have a random question even.
Yeah, well, I have one for you.
Oh, uh-oh.
I didn't prepare you for it.
No warning?
No warning. No warning.
Sure? What is it?
What's your favorite junk cereal?
Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles. Okay. Mine's Cocoa Pebbles.
Oh, we're both Pebbles.
We're Pebbles. Make our hair the Pebbles. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, good. That was a good one. That was nice and easy.
Yeah, short and sweet. Like this episode, short and sweet.
Short and sweet. So to everyone who is listening in with us, thank you so much. We would love for you to join our Facebook group and Looking Up with Kathy and Carla, and find us over on Instagram. Share your thoughts. Share a time when you stepped out of your comfort zone and what happened as a result. We would absolutely love to hear from you. So thank you so much. We thank God for this opportunity to chat together and with all of you. And until next time,
keep looking up.
I'll talk to you later, Carla.
All right. Love you.
Bye. Love you too.
Bye.